Hello everybody, here we are today and we're going to be talking about Alex Nylander and the fact that he has taken the Columbus Blue Jackets fan base by storm. So we're going to get into that. Before we do that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So Alex Nylander, who is got a couple of relatives that are pretty well known in the hockey world, is somebody that was taken with the 8th overall pick in the 2016 draft by the Buffalo Sabres. Unfortunately, things didn't work out there a whole lot, as over the course of 3 seasons, he played 19 games with them and had 6 points, averaging about 12 minutes a night in that span, before he was shipped off to the Chicago Blackhawks. There, he got his first real opportunity to play a lot of games in the NHL, as he got to play in 65 games and had 26 points before a injury ended up sidelining him for a huge stretch, I believe a whole season. And then there too, he was shipped off to another team, that being the Pittsburgh Penguins. Unfortunately, too, for a guy like Nylander, things haven't really worked out with the Pens, as he played 14 games with them, mostly saw time in the AHL, and just was not in a spot where he was getting a lot of minutes. Chicago, at least he was getting games, but with Buffalo and Pittsburgh kind of sent down to their lower levels and just dealing with a lot of stuff before being shipped off now from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is where we get to today, as life has gone really well for him, as the Pens ended up trading him in a deal that at the time didn't seem to be that big of a trade, I guess if you will, as they traded Bimstrom and a pick along with all that. But ever since he's arrived, he has 13 points in 17 games played. Clearly that is a major thing here, as he had 34 points in 98 games played in the NHL prior to this, and is at the spot now where people are talking about him a little bit more. This is somebody that has seen his minutes jump from 12 minutes to 17 minutes, over 17 minutes a night, and is a guy that you're really seeing a lot of good numbers with. Maybe not great underlying numbers, but he's getting a lot of time with guys like Zach Werenski and Johnny Gaudreau. The question then becomes, what exactly are the Blue Jackets going to do here? Because I do believe he is a free agent after this season. This is kind of where I get to my talking point now, where the Jackets are a team that has a lot of younger players, and you know they're going to try to get their opportunities, and I completely understand that. But at the same time too, this is a team that is not great at the moment. Boone Jr. is somebody that's been around for a long time for the Jackets. He has 22 goals and is leading the team for goals at the moment. That shouldn't really be the case. No disrespect to Boone, but if you said Boone Jr. is going to be your leading goal scorer for any team, they'd probably say, hey, we're going to be a tough spot to try to make the playoffs. And the Jackets are in a situation where they probably have about 3 to 4 young guys that could crack the 20-goal mark this year. But who knows if they'll even have one 30-goal scorer this year. Laine has missed for a variety of reasons on and off the ice. And Nylander already has 10 goals. In fact, he is 10th on the team for scoring, and is in a situation where if he gets 4 more goals, he would be 5th on the team for team goals. Looking at this, I kind of look at it as just a situation where the Jackets are again in a spot where they're probably going to be bad next year. I thought that they might take the leap forward at the beginning of this season. Maybe not a crazy leap forward, but it seems like they're stuck in the mode at the moment with a lot of younger guys. So if they are truly going to be a team that struggles again in the following season, why not kick the can on this, kick the tires if you will, and try to see if they could get Nylander an extension 1 or 2 years. Now, is everything going to work out here where he ends up having close to a 60-point season, which is what he's about on pace for right now, 63-point pace with the team and 13 points in 17 games played? I don't really think that's the case, and it very well could be lightning in the bottle, but I look at it as a situation where this is a club that's struggled over the past few years, not been able to make the playoffs, and it is a market where they have been able to bring in big names, but now you're dealing with just a lot of problems where what's going to happen with the front office, what's going to happen with the coaching staff. Jarmo Kekalainen is gone as the GM, and now you have the whole deal where fans would say, well, Jarmo can bring in a lot of the European players because he's a European GM. He's gone, so who's going to be the long-term plan for the whole general manager position? Who's going to be able to draft? Who's going to be able to bring in that talent? That is up in the air. The coaching staff, again, how are things going to work out there? I think we could see whoever is going to be the head coach just struggle, because again, this is a team that's got a lot of learning to do, and they just don't have a lot to be excited about in terms of production at the moment. Yes, those young guys are going to bring in some fans and things like that, but I just don't see a problem with having a really cheap deal and bringing in a guy like Nylander that is a former first-round pick, that is somebody that is producing. Hear a lot of time about how guys will be brought in and they'll say, well, they're a former first-round pick, so we wanted to keep them around. But I feel like in this situation, of course, you would have somebody that was at a 60-plus point pace, and then you would have the front office for a team say, well, you know, this is really just lightning in the bottle. Probably we shouldn't try to keep him around. I am in the different camp, as you want to have somebody like him be brought back. Looking at the Blue Jackets Instagram and things like that, a lot of fans really do seem optimistic about him. And while I will say, again, him and Johnny Gaudreau and things like that, the defensive numbers aren't great. This is not a team that's going to be playing particularly well. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't really think necessarily that he would turn this team around. I don't think it's that crazy to say. I think you could put a guy like Connor McDavid on this team and they still might not make the playoffs in the roster that they have right now, especially with all of the defensive issues they have. But you see all the time, a lot of these teams are always excited to get these players that are enticing, that are younger, that are able to possibly fill out into a middle six role and maybe even in a top six role for the following season if Nylander is able to keep it up. At the very least, you could have him as trade value, and if you said, well, he's only 26 years old, you could say maybe, just maybe we keep him around for a bit. There's nothing wrong with having guys that are able to produce that could still be part of the timeline within 5 years. I don't know. It's just one of those deals where I did want to talk about it, and I do feel like he's been flying under the radar. And while some people will say, well, how are we going to go out there and improve dramatically? I don't think it's necessarily one of those deals where you have to go out and get a big name. I know they've brought in some big names. They've been able to re-sign some big names and get some guys onto some big contracts and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you can't draft well, if you can't retain players on cheap contracts, it's going to be a problem. And for Columbus at the moment, they have plenty to worry about. The Rangers look pretty good, you know, in the moment. The Hurricanes look pretty good in the moment. They probably both will be good teams next year. The 3 seed, again, in the Metro is probably going to be up in the air, but I do feel like the Devils should be a team that improves. I don't necessarily think they're going to be pushing for the playoffs, but having a guy like Nylander to possibly be somebody that you could say, wow, this was a really underrated pickup, is something that just kind of brings me joy, if you will. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Nylander? Clearly, I don't think he's going to be able to produce at a rate like this going into next season, but I am hoping that the Jackets can bring him up. What are your thoughts still? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. You love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.